Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Cleveland Browns at the Seattle Seahawks in their Week 15 matchup played December 20th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. So starting off in the first quarter, with about 8 minutes still left in the first, the Browns jumped out to an early lead when Johnny Manziel hit Gary Barnidge for a 7-yard touchdown. Travis Coons added the extra point, and it was 7-0 Cleveland. As Manziel made a very athletic play throwing the ball across his body, it looked like he was pretty close to crossing the line of scrimmage, about as close as could be without crossing it. But anyway, it was 7-0 Browns and would remain that way until, with less than a minute left in the first quarter, Russell Wilson hits Doug Baldwin for a 3-yard touchdown. Steven Hauschka adds the extra point, and it was now tied up at 7 apiece. So that was the score after one. And then a little over 5 minutes into the second quarter, Wilson hooks up with Baldwin for the second time for a touchdown. This one a 6-yard touchdown off of play action. Steven Hauschka added the extra point, and it was now 14-7 with the Seahawks taking the lead. And that was a lead that they would not relinquish for the rest of the game. The Browns would get back on the scoreboard with about 6.5 minutes left before halftime when Travis Coons hit a 34-yard field goal to make it 14-10 as they cut the Seahawks lead to 4. But then with less than a minute left before halftime, Hauschka hit a 49-yard field goal to make it 17-10. And then on the final play of the first half, Hauschka hits a 27-yard field goal to make it 20-10. So 2 field goals by Hauschka in the final minute. First to make it 17-10, then 20-10. And the Seahawks were up by double digits at halftime. It was scoreless throughout the third quarter. And then seconds into the fourth, Russell Wilson hooks up with Tyler Lockett for a 27-yard touchdown. Steven Hauschka added the extra point, and it was now 27-10. Seattle in the lead with just a few seconds off the clock in the fourth. Travis Coons would hit a 37-yard field goal with about 9 minutes left to play to make it a 14-point game with the score Seattle 27, Cleveland 13. But then Steven Hauschka added a 30-yard field goal with about 3.5 left to play to make it 30-13. And then Manziel was intercepted thereafter, and the Seattle Seahawks would hold on to win this one as they won in pretty decisive fashion, 30-13. They're now 9-5 on the season at this point here with 2 games left to play. They're 5-2 at home, and with the victory coupled with a Tampa Bay Buccaneers loss as well as a Giants loss, as the Bucs had lost on Thursday and the Giants lost earlier to Carolina in a wild game, and that secured the Seahawks at the very minimum a wild card spot, as they have now clinched a playoff berth here in 2015 with the victory, with those other 2 teams losing here in Week 15. And the Browns now fall to 3-11. They're 1-6 on the road. It's a very impressive performance all around by Seattle with their offense and their defense. They allowed that first touchdown, but then after that, they did not allow any more trips to the end zone, and just a pair of field goals by the Browns by Travis Coons. But Russell Wilson continues to have a monster season. The 2 touchdowns to Baldwin, who has become his favorite target, and then the 3rd touchdown to Tyler Lockett there in the 4th, which really put this game out of reach. It really sealed the deal with still about 15 minutes left to play at that point. But the defense really clamping down, and the Seahawks get another win, and they're in the playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen, especially with a team as talented as the Seahawks, especially on both sides of the ball. They're a very well-rounded team, even without their star running back, beast mode, Marshawn Lynch, and without Rawls. But Michael came in, and he had a pretty productive day, 16 carries for 84 yards. And of course, though, Russell Wilson, 21 for 30, 249 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also had 5 carries for 46 yards. And Jermaine Kearse, 7 catches for 110 yards. Tyler Lockett, 5 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. And Doug Baldwin, 4 catches for 45 yards and 2 touchdowns. Johnny Manziel had 19 for 32 in terms of his completions to pass attempts, and he had 161 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And Duke Johnson Jr., 4 carries for 46 yards. Isaiah Crowell, 9 carries for 23 yards. And then Duke Johnson Jr. had 5 catches for 39 yards to be the leading receiver for Cleveland, as the running back ended up with 75 total yards in this game. And Gary Barnidge, 3 catches for just 29 yards, including the lone touchdown for Cleveland. Look at the kickers in this game. Steven Hauschka was perfect, 3 for 3 on the field goals, 3 for 3 on the extra points. Kuhn's perfect as well, 2 for 2 on the field goals, 1 for 1 on the extra points. And for the defense for Seattle, Michael Bennett with 1 sack and a forced fumble. Burley had a sack and an interception. And Brandon Mebane had a sack as well, and Wagner had a forced fumble. And for Cleveland, Bryant had 1.5 sacks, and Kirksey had a half sack. We'll look at the team stats. 28 first downs for Seattle, almost twice as many as Cleveland, who had 15 first downs. And on third down, Seattle, 75% conversion rate. They were 9 of 12 on third down. And Cleveland was 6 of 12, 50% on third down. Total net yards, almost 200 more for Seattle, 423 net yards versus 230 for Cleveland. And on the ground, they nearly doubled their output with 182 rushing yards netted by Seattle, as their offensive line was opening up those holes, and 94 rushing yards netted by Cleveland. And then through the air, Seattle netted 241. Wilson sacked twice for a loss of 8 total yards. And for the Browns, 136 netted as Manziel was sacked 3 times, losing a total of 25 yards. Penalties in this game, not too many. 5 against Seattle for 30 yards, 4 against Cleveland for 40 yards. The Browns had 2 fumbles, but they were able to recover both. And then in the red zone, the Seahawks, 2 for 4, 50%. The Browns, 1 for 3, 33%. In time of possession, Seattle, 34 minutes and 33 seconds versus 25 minutes, 27 seconds for Cleveland. So a big win for Seattle at home in front of the 12s. They get the W, they secure the playoff spot, and they win pretty handily. They did go down 7-0 early on, but they dominated there on out. They tied the game, they took the lead, and they never looked back. And so another big game by Russell Wilson, and also a big performance by the defenses. They've really come together, and they were very impressive up front in the trenches. Duke Johnson had some decent runs. Of course, it was that 39-yard run was most of his yards came off of, but they shut down Crowell. And this is coming off a big running week for Cleveland against the Niners, but here against their division rivals in the NFC West, the Niners' division rivals, not the Browns. They're obviously in the AFC North, but Seattle showing them what defense is about in the NFC West and really shutting them down. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend, and enjoy all the sports.